Comedy Film Nerds Podcast.
Check that out.
So I want to talk about Mudbound. I saw this on the streaming service, but it is also, I believe, in a limited release theatrically.
Yeah, they're trying to get an Oscar consideration
Right.
for it.
Now, this film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2017 in January, where it received a standing ovation. But here's the thing about this movie. Now, this movie is basically about two different families right after, before and after World War II. And it's a black family and a white family in Mississippi and the racial implications that go with it. Now, it's based on a novel, and I really felt like watching this movie. I'm like, oh, there's probably a lot more in the novel that we're missing in this movie. Like, everything kind of gets set up. The movie doesn't go anywhere for literally an hour and a half. It just meanders, and the characters are, everything's slow, and you don't really care about the characters or what's happening to them until the hour and a half mark. We get to the heart of the film. And the heart of the film is one white veteran who comes home and one black veteran who comes home, and they strike up a friendship. And that's actually the core and the heart of the film. And also because it's the kind of thing that transcends the racism that they were, surrounded by on a daily basis. Because they're joined together of the shared war experience, and also they didn't call it PTSD back then. It was like, I guess, shell shocked is what they used to call it. And they both had it.
Heavy drinker.
Yeah.
Pull it together.
One and
Abusive husband.
One was self-medicating, and but they a car would backfire and they would fall to the ground. And but it was also it was like a they're riding in the truck together, and they had to tell the black guy he had to, like, oh no, you gotta hide, because then the other white racists can't see you in the truck with me. It's brutally racist in parts, this movie, like difficult to watch. Like 12 Years a Slave, there's a couple scenes where you're like, this is really uncomfortable. And also which I give a lot of credit to the actors, because there's one of the characters is played by the guy that played Mike from Breaking Bad, the hitman, and he plays the really racist father, and he is the
Banks.
Yeah, he is the most
he's
unlikable racist, but there's such a commitment to it,
All those
like
All the fun-loving ones.
yeah.
There's a
such
lot of
commitment-
likable racists.
like
for sure.
there's such a commitment to it where you're like, you think for a second, like, I'm not watching an actor be racist. I went into a time machine, and this is what Mississippi looked like, in the 1940s. But the problem is the movie's too long, and it doesn't get to the heart of the actual film until like literally an hour and a half in.
Well, that's the thing. The trailer, the trailer showed me the part of the heart of the movie that you're talking about. I was like, oh, this looks awesome. Two vets, in the South after World War II, a white one, a black one. Wow, let's get into it. And I tried to start watching this movie, but I couldn't. It was just
because it didn't get there.
It moves so slow.
Yeah,
and you want it. You're just like, go.
Yeah,
get to the meat of it. Let's go.
And you just have a bunch of like unlikable characters that are kind of in the background, but they're in the background for the first hour and a half of the film. Or actually, no, I reversed that. They're in the foreground for the first hour and a half of the film until, the two vets kind of show up and begin their friendship, which then that becomes the crux in the foreground of the film. But it just, like I said, like, you could take the first hour of the movie out, and then you would have a more focused film.
I think that's the problem. That we talk about this a lot. I think when you have a big novel, that's why screen adaptation is its own award.
Right.
Because how do you take 400 pages and boil it down to 90 or 100 pages of a screenplay?
And sometimes certain books aren't really meant for adaptations.
Right.
Like they don't really fit that. Like how do you fit this into a film adaptation? It doesn't always work. And I really feel like that's what happened here. Like, this makes me actually want to go and read the novel, because I know there's more in the novel than this movie was showing. And I know that there's also, the heart of the novel is kind of got buried in this film.
I mean, I give Netflix credit for making this. After Beasts of No Nation, they won some awards. They got shunned by the Oscars, of course. But I'm glad if Netflix is going to try to like win awards, I'm all for it and play these and go after these unique and different stories. Beasts of No Nation still in my mind is like, it's relevant. It's happening today.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was and Idris Elba was amazing. The kid was amazing.
And this movie really, the problem is really where on the adaptation side.
Right.
Like the performances were good. They were really some of the performances were excellent. The directing was good. The production design great. All those things really fell into
director.
All those things really fell into place. But it just the actual adaptation of the source material is where it fell short.
All right.
What's an example of a movie that adapted really well from the novel to the screenplay? Because I would say like The Color Purple. Have you read The Color Purple and then seen the movie?
Yes.
Is it the opposite of that?
Yeah, that was a good adaptation.
A good example of how it was a good adaptation but strayed from the book was The Shining.
Right.
And we
But that's a great example because like The Shining, I think and I remember hearing Len Wein talk about this, who worked on the Watchmen comic book. And when the movie came out, and a lot of purists were like,
where's the squid?
You changed it.
Where's the squid at the end?
Squid? And he made a great point. And I think this goes to what you're saying, Chris, about adaptation. Obviously, that was a graphic novel, but it is still a different medium. And he said they are different. He goes, the book, the graphic novel is the graphic novel, and they're different mediums, and they convey and tell the stories in different ways. So you have to kind of accept that. And I think sometimes when people get like super mad, it's not like the movie didn't take away anything from your experience of reading it. And I think, Krista, what you're saying about how it's difficult to adapt, especially a novel, adapting a novel, to me has got to be harder than a graphic novel, because a graphic novel is a goddamn
you've got storyboards.
That's right. It's right. So sometimes I think The Shining is a really good example of it wasn't exactly like the book because you can't shoot the book.
Right.
You can't take that book and it's a different experience. You're sitting there reading the book at home in the dark and you're like, oh my God. So you have to convey that emotion visually and you have to kind of tell the story in a different way because you've got 2 hours. You don't have 400 pages, which will take you a month or whatever long it takes you to read. So
The Stand.
yeah, exactly. So it is such a skill what to leave in, what to take out,
and how to structure
it, and then how the filmmaker is going to execute that. It's so much more challenging than people may think.
Right.
Sounds like this was an example.
Yes.
I shot first, kitten heads across the